There are some lies in our science books. Taught it for 15 years. Even though I'm not teaching it anymore, I still like to study. It's so many neat things to learn. We're going to cover some of that tonight.
Perception is being managed. We are being steered and guided by a hidden hand.
The whole world has been duped by the media that is not real.
Smart thinking, possible time traveler, smart thinking.
That night, boom, contact memory.
And then just, Alex, if you don't agree, you'll be sent to a re-education camp.
Just because I'm old doesn't mean I've lost my touch with the ladies.
A lot of people here tonight felt like they lost. You know why?
Now, experts are suggesting that we're in a golden age of shape-shifting reptilian sightings. Now, why is that?
I was, and still am, the huge conspiracy guy. I literally ran out of new tin hat topics to research.
It was most definitely not capable of melting steel.
Then I would be a crackpot if I thought that was the case.
Welcome to the Hypothetical Institute, a podcast about conspiracies.
My name is Luke.
I'm Salty. I'm Cam. How are we, gentlemen?
Good, thanks. Good to have two good pals in the house recording a podcast.
Yeah.
Everyone's well hydrated.
Yep.
Everyone's eaten.
Yep.
We're ready to have a chat.
All right. Today we're going to be delving into the most obscure of occultism. We're going to be talking about the Cross of Nero, and we're going to be talking about the Triangle of Baphomet. Nah, just kidding. Just bloody fooled ya. We were thinking about what to do a podcast about.
How long did you work on that bit for?
Like 2 seconds. Yeah. Just cool your jets, mate. We went to go do a podcast and realised, hang on a second, have we done Loch Ness, the bloody Loch Ness Monster?
I still, for some reason, think we have.
No.
Yeah, I think we have too, but whatever.
We haven't.
We've touched on it with the photograph. I feel like we talked a lot about that photograph.
It would be hard to know whether we had if we did it in an early episode when we hadn't been naming the episodes very obviously.
We thought comedic names were the way to go. Yeah. Very annoying.
We would have thought completely irrelevant naming.
Reference to a little tiny in-joke of one sentence of the show.
No, we never did Loch Ness Monster.
Okay.
Well, we're doing it now. Hey, it doesn't matter if we did it again.
Because I've learnt so much about the Loch Ness Monster that I didn't already know. So we couldn't possibly have done it.
And in the time that when we would have done it, I've been there.
Yeah.
And back.
We're also going to have a little look at mermaids and mermen.
I got some good mermen gear.
Yeah. It's tough out there being a merman.
Yeah.
Well, let's touch on that later on. It's not bloody...
Let's start off with
eat all that
don't
fish.
shit the pants yet.
I was going to say eat all that fish before the frying's done.
Let's start with Loch Ness, shall we?
Yep.
Salty?
Was that a fry? Like, because that's what little fish are called?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is this a fish comedy based on your long experience as a fisherman?
We're talking about mermaids and fish things, so I thought I'd try and get some fish.
Didn't you work at the docks or something?
Yeah, I was a dockman.
Yeah. Did you ever see a mermaid?
No.
All right, let's get back to this. Well, maybe think about your answer by the time we get back to it.
Yeah, and come up with something a bit more interesting.
Salty.
Yes.
Loch Ness, picturesque.
Beautiful.
What about the monster?
Elusive.
If it wasn't famous for having a monster, would it still be nice to go to?
Oh, it's amazing. It's absolutely stunning. But I'll tell you what, our first experience was when we got there. We're driving along on the mountainside. You can see it out there. It's just massive. And we're like, fuck, how beautiful is that? It looks amazing. Next little pull over thing, we'll stop and we'll get out and have a look. So we're driving along. Oh, there's a little parking bay. Park. Get out, have a stretch. Been driving for a while. Walk over to the edge of the cliff where the little wall is. Standing there having a good old gaze out at Loch Ness, and I'm like, what the fuck? Oh, Loch Ness fucking stinks! And I was so horrified. This just rancid, rotten, gross, fishy, horrible smell was just like, ugh. I'm like, it looked so nice. I had no idea it was going to smell like this. Anyway, I looked down and there was like a massive rotting dead deer carcass.
Right.
That someone had just thrown off the road over the little wall, right under me, assaulting my nose. So I was like, ugh, okay, let's drive a bit more. Stopped up a bit further. Doesn't smell like that.
Okay. Loch Ness, famously lovely smelling.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's nearly got in trouble with the bloody Loch Ness Tourism Council, didn't we?
So what is the monster of Loch Ness? Where does it start?
Oh, it starts way back, but I think the official sort of it becoming the Loch Ness Monster was a 30s thing, right?
Yeah. About 1933.
Oh,
33.
Very cultish.
Or thereabouts.
So the story can be traced back to 565 AD. A missionary called Saint Columba apparently encountered something monstrous there. But then later in the 30s is when it's got into the press. The Inverness Courier, Inverness is like the town at the top of the lake, reported the first modern sighting of Nessie in 1933. So Fort Augustus, which is at the other end of the lake, correspondent from down there reported a sighting by Aldi Mackay, or Mackay, of what she believed to be Nessie. And then, so the description was that there was a whale-like creature in the locks cascading and churning. And the editor of the paper at the time was like, let's call this the fucking monster. Hey? Monster! That's a big buzzy word for the 30s.
Yeah.
So Loch Ness Monster was born. Since then, there's like 10 reports a year or something.
Right.
It's constant. There's always reports of it.
There's the famous photo. Did anyone actually look into that?
Oh, I've seen explanations of it before. People think it was an elephant from a travelling circus.
It's putting this little...
Having a little dip.
I feel like we did a whole episode on the photo.
No, we have never. Are you confusing this with reading about the Loch Ness Monster as a child from one of those dumb books?
Did we include Loch Ness in an episode about just cryptids, maybe?
I think we did. We talked about the photo, so go back and listen to that one, whichever it is. At least someone has photo gear, Cam.
How about we just talk about the photo now?
Okay, do you have photo gear?
No.
Oh, I didn't look it up either, because I thought we'd done it already.
So the famous photo is the black and white water with the... looks like someone's hand sticking out of it, which is supposed to be the monster. Any of our Patreon listeners who I just want to also say thanks for your patronage. Special thanks to Tammy, our cooked massive sponsor.
Thank you.
Hopefully everyone got their postcard. I sent all of our Patreons postcards from when I was at Loch Ness. If you're not on Patreon, jump on, because every now and again you get really cool stuff like that. Yeah. Up there when you go there, that photo's on everything. Every bit of merch is like got that on it.
The surgeon's photo.
Yeah. So the most sort of credible explanation, if you go down the route that it's not the Loch Ness Monster, is that at the time there was circuses traveling around, and that was probably an elephant that was having a little dip in the water, and that's this little trunk.
Just having fun.
Yeah. Frolicking. Elephants love the water.
Yeah, and they need to breathe.
Yeah, and they've got fucking built-in snorkels. Yeah. So why wouldn't they be banging around under the water?
There's also theories about that photo that's just like a log.
Yeah, bit of stick sticking out of the ground.
I feel like in the 30s people probably gave a lot of credence to things because surgeons were involved.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, a surgeon took a photo. Well, they know what they're doing.
Yeah, you got to trust them.
They're not famously off their face on ether all the time.
Yeah. But there's been a lot of photos and video caught over the years that nothing's as like in your face as the surgeon's photo, as here's a fucking monster sticking out of the water. Lots of black lumps.
Do you want to know, I just very quickly looked up the surgeon's photo and the official explanation of what actually happened. So he was a famed...
Photoshopper.
Marmaduke Wetherell was a famed big game hunter who had been hired in 1933 by the Daily Mail to find the Loch Ness Monster. He returned from his expedition with evidence of enormous footprints leading from the lake's shore into the water.
Right.
However, Natural History Museum researchers concluded the tracks had been made with a dried hippo's foot, which are a popular umbrella stand at the time. Then he also revealed the photographs as a hoax. He explained that he had enlisted his help to create a model of the monster's neck and place it in a toy submarine. Robert Kenneth Wilson was chosen to give the photograph to the media because of his trusted reputation as a doctor.
Right.
This is from don'ttakepictures.com, story of the Loch Ness Monster story. So that's the story of the photo.
Yeah.
You guys were right in your speculation of a surgeon is more trustworthy.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they're not, though.
No, turns out they're not at all.
Never trust a surgeon. You know who else was a doctor? Harold Shipman, famous murderer.
Jesus.
Cripes. Was this related to Loch Ness?
Nah.
Oh.
Dr. Jayant Patel.
Yep. Another
Nicknamed Dr. Death, of all things.
Yeah.
Wasn't that a clue?
Yeah. His business card. Here's my card. Fucking Dr. Death. Oh, no, wrong one. This one.
So, Loch Ness.
Yep.
I do have some occult gear that possibly explains the entire thing, because you know who lived right on the loch for a time? Only one Mr. Crowley.
Oh, shit.
Aleister Crowley lived on Loch Ness.
Right. What year was this?
From like 1899, and then for a few more years he lived there. He lived in a house called Boleskine House, and he bought it specifically to do a magical ritual. Ooh. He wanted to perform the sacred magic of Abramelin the Mage, taken from a grimoire called the Book of Abramelin. It was a spell or ritual in which you invoke your guardian angel. But it's a little bit tricky, because in order to invoke one's guardian angel, you first have to invoke the 12 lords of hell. Satan, Baphomet, Baal, and Leviathan, Beelzebub.
I feel like if you invoke the 12 Lords of Hell, you better have a good reason, because if one of them's like, oh, what the hell, they're going to all turn on you.
Well, you invoke them one by one.
Okay.
And so as you invoke each one, you then sort of defeat them, or you make them submit to your will. And then by the time you've got all 12 of them have submitted to your will, then you can be like, all right, boys, mind dialing up my old guardian angel?
Right.
And they're like, all right.
It seems incredibly hard to make 12
Lords of Hell
submit to your will.
It is incredibly hard, Robbo. The spell takes at least 6 months of preparation.
You need more than that. That's ridiculous.
Well, Robbo, you'll see in a second.
It takes more than 6 months to prepare for a marathon.
It also requires celibacy and abstinence from alcohol. Now, what do we know about Aleister Crowley? He loves getting his dick bloody wet, doesn't he?
He loves to booze it up.
Right there by Loch Ness, where you can get your dick wet 24/7.
Yeah, just fucking plock it in there.
So,
what is this?
So
is this really gear what we're doing here? Getting his dick wet by putting it in Loch Ness. That's what this podcast has become.
Right, so here's the thing about this spell, right? So the reason he bought this house was specifically to do the spell, because part of the spell also requires like a certain location.
Yeah.
Right.
So he got the spell off this guy called Samuel Liddell McGregor Mathers, who was the head of the Order of the Golden Dawn.
Matho.
Yeah. Mathers.
Yeah, old Matho.
Yeah. So we've talked about the Golden Dawn before. This was the group that Crowley was in. So Mathers had gotten this book, which was like ancient spells that someone had worked out like hundreds and hundreds of years ago, and he translated it. And there was a few things that went wrong. Firstly, he translated it really shittily.
Right.
In his thing, he's like, it takes 6 months to do this spell. And in the original text, it's like, it takes at least 18 months. Do not do anything less than a year and a half on this, or you're just going to cook it.
And Crowley's trying to bang it out in 6.
Yeah. Well, this is because this guy has translated it this way.
Right.
He cooked a bunch of like the recipes. You've got to get some oil, got to oil yourself up. You'll enjoy this though.
I'm already enjoying it.
You know what recipe he substituted? A bit of calamus is supposed to be in it. You know what he put in instead? A bit of galangal.
Oh, yeah.
Now, what does galangal go well in?
Oh, curries.
Yeah?
The Southeast Asian food.
Little free plug for eats and drinks, maybe?
Well, yeah, I'm not going to just go with honey fermented galangal because I'm still bloody an experiment in progress. I'm not going to lie to our listeners.
But it's delicious, though.
Yeah.
But you wouldn't put it in your anointed oils, would you?
No, I think it'd be good.
If you were going to then anoint your fucking steak with it, or a bit of chicken.
So he also stuffed up another bunch of things in the recipe, which completely changed the oil's edibility, fragrance, dermal sensation, and its spiritual symbolism, which I think is the most important when you're doing a spell with something.
Dermal sensation.
Yeah.
So is that
like you put it
on your skin?
Yeah, skin
right.
feel.
Yeah. Okay. Dermal sensation. That's fun.
Maybe you're supposed to put it on your nips and they burn a little bit, but it was like cold instead. It's cold.
maybe.
It's a cold place up there.
You're supposed to do, there's a bunch of magical squares that you need to fill in. It's sort of magical bingo.
Right.
And the original spell called for 251, and the translation only had 242. So you got a bunch of random magical squares floating around out there.
He's fucked up his occult Sudoku.
Yeah. So Mathers had already stuffed things up by cooking the recipe.
Yeah.
But then he stuffed it up even further. So Alistair Crowley is, putting it away for 6 months, calling up devil after devil, when on the phone, who is it? But only Mathers himself, who is the head of Golden Dawn. He's like, Crowley, all these other Golden Dawn dickheads are getting really sick of me. They're mainly sick of having to go through me to talk to the gods and things. They're getting a little antsy. Can you come and help me shore up some of my support here in Paris? And Crowley's like, yeah, no worries. I'll just leave this fucking demon thing half done and come to Paris, where I'm famously going to get my dick massively wet and as well as my whistle.
In the Seine.
Yeah.
Chuck it in the Seine.
Good gear.
Who was it? Was it Hillary Clinton's parents or someone? Oh, no, the Barbara Bush's parents, where Mum was mucking around with Crowley in Paris,
That's right.
if you remember.
Yeah, Barbara Bush was allegedly his daughter.
Yeah.
In some theories.
Yeah. Because their mum was in Paris.
Yeah.
We cover a lot of ground on this podcast.
And Crowley was just fucking banging everyone.
Yeah.
So he leaves the spell half done, and what do you get?
Six angry bloody guardians of hell.
Yeah, or 4. He's only a third of the way through.
You said half done.
Yeah, that was just, he's not actually half done. He's not even a third.
You have to turn a phrase, get you.
Yeah. So there is a school of thought that perhaps the Loch Ness Monster might be a little loose demon.
Yeah. Leviathan, probably.
Is that one of them?
Probably.
Yeah, it is. And that would explain why you can never ping it on the sonar.
It's otherworldly.
Yeah, it's incorporeal.
Okay, that's pretty good.
There was also a bunch of weird stuff happened after he left. A butcher who for some reason he got the receipt from the butchers and he wrote a bit of his spell on the receipt. The butcher chopped off his own hand. Right. The next person that lived in the house killed themselves. Then someone else who lived in the house lived with their blind wife, and they were just like, see ya. And left the blind wife there.
I wonder if when Crowley was there, he did something to fuck up the post office, and that's why the postcards took 6 months to reach everyone.
No doubt.
Could be.
Fuck. I've uncovered something here.
Yeah.
Don't blame me, Patreons. Blame Alistair Crowley.
Your excuse for everything.
Finally,
Crowley did it.
The bloke from Led Zepp bought it, Jimmy Page.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. And he was like, nah, there's no ghosts. But then someone was like, are you saying there's no ghosts? He's like, well, I didn't say there were no ghosts. I just said I didn't see any heads rolling around, but there could be ghosts.
You don't want to drop out your ghost hunter market if you want to resell by saying there's no ghosts.
Yeah. Particularly if you're Led Zeppelin, I feel like there's a crossover between your oeuvre of work and people that like ghosts.
Yeah.
So the other thing we know about Crowley is that around 1933 is when his powers were beginning to diminish. I don't think he died yet, right? Because he died in the 40s, right?
I think so.
Because that's when the UFOs appear. I think, though, 1933 is around the time that he hit rock bottom. So his powers to stop demons from swimming around were at their lowest.
Yeah. So bloody Nessie's starting to go pop her fucking head up going, what's going on?
Yeah. Manifesting into the physical world.
A little bit of Crowley gear there for you.
I did... So it's related to, I guess, this kind of theory. I watched an episode of In Search of Aliens, Season 1, Episode 3, which I feel was a weird one to include in the first season of Aliens. The guy already said at the start, this isn't really alien related, or is it?
Right.
Kind of.
How have you not got enough aliens to fill your first season?
Yeah, you're 3 and you're doing sea creatures.
It's like us waiting till like episode 300 to do Loch Ness.
Anyway, so he's interviewing this guy called Steve Feltham, who just moved to Loch Ness in 1991. His van broke down, so he just decided to live there.
Yep.
And he just hangs out.
What a fucking good place.
Yeah, and he just hangs out, makes little models, sells them to tourists, and lives in his van. Seems like a pretty chill dude.
Yeah.
He's got a website. On his website, he says, "I love my life. It's an adventure." I don't think it's that much of an adventure if you're staying in one place.
Does he live in a house or in a
van?
In the van. Hashtag van life.
Yeah.
Does he have an annoying YouTube channel?
No, I don't think so.
Like, we took out the siding of the van and we put in some plywood.
Anyway, he was... so this guy was being interviewed and he said, there's one guy on the other side of the lake who thinks there's a spaceship at the bottom of the loch. And this is a History Channel show, so it's like super dramatic. Slow-mo. Zoom in on the host. He's like, whoa! I skipped through the rest of it and they didn't really address it.
All right.
They just kind of moved on. But they went and met a guy who... a couple of guys that got some submarines in the 50s and 60s and had a look around. But they had one that was a yellow submarine, very much in the style of the yellow submarine. It didn't really didn't sink or it didn't float properly. It just kind of hovered in the middle.
Right.
But they had like darts on it. So if they saw Nessie, they want to shoot the dart and get a little biopsy. Never happened.
So there's been a lot of submarine exploration of the loch, right?
Because is it super deep? Is that the story?
So it's 220 something meters deep at its deepest point.
That's pretty damn deep.
Which is pretty deep.
If you think about how high a 10-meter diving board is, and how terrifying that is, imagine that times 22.
Yeah. So also,
thank you for explaining meters to us.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just putting it in a context that people would understand.
Because everyone's been out on the 10-meter diving board.
100-meter running track.
Oh, sorry, I forgot I was in a podcast of cowards.
Yes, I noticed you said a 10-meter diving board was scary.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's terrifying.
Me, I don't find it terrifying at all.
Yeah, have you dived off one?
I never. I always skip the 10-meter, go straight for the 30.
It's not a 30-meter diving board.
Maybe not at the pools you go to. Fucking coward pools.
Yeah.
Buddy. Yeah. So the water of the loch is really dark because it's surrounded by mountains and all the peat comes down off the mountains. It goes in the water. The water's dark as shit. And apparently...
Dark as peat.
Dark as peat. Dark as a loch full of peat. Apparently radar and all that kind of sonar shit just doesn't work in it because there's so much particulate matter floating around and visibility is basically nothing all the time there just because it's so full of stuff and dark. So I think that's why most of the submarines people, I think those missions are doomed before they even start because it's just hard to see anything down there. And when I was out on the loch, bloody, tell you what, I can understand people thinking they see things. To take a fully skeptic view of it, right, of sightings, the water's so dark that when waves kick up, the side of the wave that's in shadow is pitch black. So any sort of largish waves that ripple looks like a black, long shape on top of the water. Like it's black. When I remember looking over the side at the bubbles and the, what's that called that a boat makes? The turbulence in the water?
Wake.
The wake. And as soon as like bubbles went a few centimeters under the water, the whiteness of the froth just turned a brown, murky color. It's that tinted dark, the water.
So on this podcast, we've talked about different levels of dark. We've got Vanta Black, Black 3.0, in that order. And then at the top, we've got Gippsland Dark.
Gippsland Dark, yeah.
At number 1, darkest thing.
The darkest thing.
Where does Loch Ness Dark fall into this category?
But probably between Black 3.0 and Gippsland Dark.
Wow.
Very, very dark water.
Yeah, that is dark.
But not as dark as Gippsland.
Not as dark as Gippsland. Come on. So, yeah, any amount of turbulence in the lock surface, the waves just look like it's black. It looks like a shape coming out of it. And when you're out on the water, there's so many, like, because a bit of wind, there's a lot of ripples on the surface.
A little bit choppy.
It's just, you do get a weird sensation of seeing things. Like I was on the boat going, hey, huh? Like, because I went out there thinking, hey, Loch Ness, fucking gonna find Nessie. This is gonna be amazing.
Yeah. So part of you thought, I'm gonna be the one to see it. Yeah. And this is gonna be like, this is gonna make our podcast.
Yeah. And saw nothing, but can very, very, very much understand how people think they see things. Like little incidental. Oh, I saw Nessie because there was a black shape that kind of rose up out of the water. Could easily be a wave because the waves are that dark. I shared a video actually with our Patreons. That was ages ago. We'll share it on our public socials now.
Let's do it.
And listeners can check out my little video of Loch Ness that I made.
Now, it's got me thinking, Nessie tourism, I don't know how sustainable it is. These kids these days, they want their computers, they want their extreme sports. Do they need to do a sort of Nessie wakeboarding competition?
Possibly.
You're going to get some cool photos with the dark thing. You could have themed jumps in the shape of like the famous photos and stuff.
Like you go like a Flintstones thing where you go up the back of the
on the wakeboard.
Wakeboard, the kids love it.
Yeah,
I love wakeboarding.
Loch Ness wakeboarding competition 2020.
Yeah,
aren't you like a millennial brand guy? Is that your actual job?
No.
Are you out there telling brands incorporate wakeboarding into things?
I think it's a good one. Annual bloody.
What else are you going to do on the water?
Red Bull sponsors it. Yeah. Get Red Bull on board.
Maybe what do you think we should do, Cam? A fishing comp?
Yeah, what do you want? A fishing comp?
All right. Well, there's a lot of ganging up on me here.
Bloody, I'll tell you what, they've just cancelled the snapper fishing comp in Whyalla for the first time because fish are depleting.
All right.
Climate change. The planet is dying.
Yeah. Every once a year, people swarm to Whyalla to go out and catch heaps of snapper. Nah, they put it on hold.
Do they want a wakeboarding competition?
That would fill the void.
So, Robbo.
Or a monster.
There's been, the Whyalla Loch could do a little monster.
Yeah, there is one.
There is one? Maybe like the water.
There's little wetlands.
Yeah. Is there a water feature at the golf course?
I wouldn't think so.
Wait, where do they do the snapper competition then?
At the beach.
Ah, of course. You have a surfing competition then, not a wakeboarding.
There's no surfing while on it.
Robbo, some modern sightings of the Loch Ness Monster you wanted to share with us?
No, all the modern gear I had was I just watched that one episode of, and then I looked at the submarines for a bit. That was it.
Yeah, a lot of people going out in submarines and things.
Yeah, finding nothing.
And they're finding nothing. People going out, they're on a hiding to nothing, right? But then you got all these people going out on boats. It's like, well, that's not going to do it. You need a submarine.
Yeah. You need a submarine that can see through the murk of all the peat.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we've tried everything.
Then there'll be some water appreciation wanker who go there and be like, it's a bit peaty.
We've done, so we're like, people have tried on boats, they've tried submarines, they've done sonar.
Yep.
One guy found a shape, didn't seem to be much. I think we're out of ideas.
Okay, so you were across Jeremy Wade, extreme fisherman.
Extreme fisherman, yeah, I am.
Jeremy Wade.
The New Zealander?
No, he's a British guy.
Okay, no, I don't know him.
He does he goes fishing in the Amazon and catches huge arapaimas and stuff and hits his thing. He did a whole episode on the Loch Ness Monster. He did a whole series on monsters, mythical and otherwise. He went and did some investigation on the loch and what it could be based on stories that people have told. And his most sort of, what he thought it is most likely is if there is something in there, is every now and again a stray Greenland shark will make its way down from up in the icy north waters, make its way down the bloody rivers into the loch, bum around in the loch for a little bit, because they tend to roll on the water, the top of the water, and make like a big humpy, fleshy shape, and then piss off back out to the sea.
So the loch is connected to the sea?
Somewhere.
Okay. All right. I don't understand the geography of this, but I can look it up later.
Well, it's quite high in Scotland. Above it is like where it gets all like craggy and like the highlands, like the super highlands.
Super
Highlands. And then it's the ocean, like the Arctic Ocean.
Is it? But that's not above
the mountains.
Yeah,
it's north.
Yeah, north. But like, how?
But not up in the sky.
Yeah, but
not the old fucking sky ocean.
The way you described it, you said it's high, then it's got the thing above it, and then it's the ocean.
Yeah, well, if you're looking at a compass and a map,
yeah,
it's high on the map.
But so how are the sharks getting?
Just this guy.
How are they? I don't know how the sharks are getting in there from the Greenland Ocean. I mean, obviously, I'm assuming this guy's worked it out.
They're swimming down the
down a little creek,
down the little rivers and stuff.
Okay.
The fjords,
right,
into the loch.
Interesting.
Having a swim around, doing a bit of sunbathing up on the surface, and people are seeing them rolling around because they're big, like long grey, smooth. Like I don't think they have as many fins as a normal shark either, so they're kind of cylindrical,
like a sexy dolphin.
Yeah, smooth, sexy dolphin. And they're big, and they're really old, and they're like it could even be the same one that's there all the time. These fuckers live for like hundreds of years. They found one that they reckon is like 500 years old.
Oh, I've seen photos of that shark.
Yeah.
Man, it just looks so tired.
Yeah. Just fucking bumming around for 500
Let
years.
me rest.
I don't know why I keep saying bumming around either.
Cook me up into some delicious flake and let me rest. So, Robbo, I think where you were going with your little we've tried everything bit was just recently.
Oh, you didn't need to spell it out. I was trying to set you up.
Yeah, okay. Well, because we got distracted though, I've got to get back to it. So as you were teeing me up with, quite well done.
Quite well, thank you.
Yeah. Just recently, some scientists reckon they've cracked the case.
Right.
So they did a environmental DNA survey of the loch. They took like 200 different water samples from all different regions of the loch, like all around it, all depths and things. And from that, they can get the DNA profile of every animal that is in the loch. And they're like, well, we found there's some fish in here. Mm-hmm. Didn't find any reptiles. Didn't find any plesiosaurs. Didn't find any leviathans. What we found, guys...
They wouldn't find the leviathan DNA for starters. No. So that's still the leading.
But what they say they found is just a fucking shitload of eels.
So, hang on. Can we take a step back?
Mm-hmm.
You're saying we have the technology to take a sample of water...
Yep.
And get DNA prints of everything that's been in there. This is the theory that people are trying to get us to believe.
Yeah.
A loch that's like 200 meters deep and massively long, they take a little water sample and they can get the DNA of everything in there.
They're taking 10 litre samples from 200 different spots all around it.
And everything that's ever been in there, they can get the DNA.
Well, not everything that's ever been in there, but everything that's in there now, or everything that's very recently been in there. So they get deer and stuff that have come down and had a sip out of the loch.
People have fucking killed them and thrown them over the cliff.
They're getting all of that stuff. They're getting some people DNA, they're getting bloody salty DNA, they're getting Alistair Crowley DNA that he's bloody left behind, hasn't he?
Yeah.
And they're getting so many eels. They're like, we didn't think there were going to be this many eels in the loch.
Really? I would have pictured the loch as it's so dark, there's all these peat nutrients. That is peak eel stuff.
Central.
Yeah. So and these idiots who don't think there's that many eels in there are the ones doing DNA testing.
Well, they're we thought there would be some eels. We didn't think it would be literally just a writhing massive eel. That just below the water, it was just all eel all the way down.
Right.
So they do give a little bit... I don't know how serious this is or how tongue-in-cheek it was. The scientist guy in his little press conference is like, look, it could be a lot of little eels or it could be one big eel.
Oh.
But there's heaps of eel.
I still can't get my head around that test that they're running.
Yeah.
To the point where a dinosaur still living in the lake makes more sense to me. And I know that I'm probably way wrong and this test is credible, but it's just so ridiculous.
Have you watched CSI?
Yeah.
You know when they get the little bits of DNA?
Yeah, but they're not scooping it off a lake. There's so much water in a lake.
Yeah, they grabbed a bunch of the water.
And what about rain that has come from the ocean into the sky and then down into the loch? Is that not impacting it?
Well, I don't imagine there'd be a lot of DNA in that.
We'll start in the ocean.
Anyway, this is what they reckon they've worked out.
Oh.
There have been a little while back, a bunch of big eels washed up. And people are like, maybe that's the Loch Ness Monster. And other people are like, no, people have planted these eels. There couldn't possibly be eels in the loch. It's like, nah, it's chockers. Chockers with eels.
Don't buy it.
Where do we land on Loch Ness?
Well, does it make sense for it to be eels when Crowley did a third of a demonic spell there?
Makes a lot of sense for it to be the Leviathan.
Yeah.
Or a big shark.
I think nothing.
Think of nothing.
Well, I mean, there's probably eels in there.
Yeah.
We know there's eels in there.
Nothing big, though, you don't think?
Nah.
I did see one scientist guy who's like, people are expecting to see something, so they see something. And especially at cooked waves, you're going to see stuff.
Yeah.
Now, Salty, you saw something else there while we were on the topic of Loch Ness.
You know what? I legit saw a fairy.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't want to laugh at the ludicrousness of this, but kind of goes against this whole show.
Yeah. It was weird. Driving along
Yeah.
up next to the loch.
Yeah.
A lot of trees and stuff.
Yeah. A lot of residual magic in the air.
Yeah. It is a place of magic. This is like where fucking folklore began.
How magic were the mushrooms?
Didn't have any.
Oh, okay.
But driving along.
Yeah.
And something very, what would the word be? It flits.
Mm-hmm.
If you think of something flying past your car, and then think of something flitting. Driving along, past the windscreen. Like, maybe a bit under 30 centimetres high. If you were thinking of a fairy, you would think, small. They're not big creatures.
No, yeah.
So we're driving along. This thing goes flip, 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 past the windscreen. We looked at each other and Kylie goes, "Did you see that fairy?" And in my head, I was thinking exactly the same thing. Fucking fairy just flew past the windscreen. And we can't think of anything else it could have been. It wasn't a bird. It wasn't a gigantic butterfly. Something flitted past the car. And we're in a fucking magical place.
Oh, I got nothing to say.
Well, skeptical Robbo here.
I'm not saying I'm completely convinced.
He's like, nah, it was just a little bloke with wings on.
Yeah.
Sure it wasn't an Aberdeen midget with a little jetpack.
Yeah.
Fuck off, Robbo.
Loch Ness, you're like, nah, there's fucking nothing there except eels.
Yeah, that's what I think.
It's one of those ones that are like, it's been like explained to death. It's one of those ones I kind of like to try and maybe think. I want to hold on to the mystery of Loch Ness.
I would be very much into it if it was true. That'd be great.
You're like, nah.
Wow. At this point, this bloke that I watched, he's been sitting out looking at it for 30 years almost.
You sure he's not spending a bit of his time whittling his little models, though?
Yeah, he's doing it on the lake, though.
Yeah, he doesn't have his eyes on the lake 24/7, though.
I feel like...
How many fingers has he lost?
I feel like if he's seen it up...
Whittling without looking.
Yeah, what's your
I
whittles?
feel like...
Plus working on his fucking awful YouTube van life fucking channel.
Between him and all the other weirdos that live around there...
This is how we
they
pull
would
the
have
bed
seen
out.
Something.
It's for extra storage space when we have guests over.
I also don't...
Fuck off.
I don't know this van life reference, but I imagine it's a genre of YouTube channel.
Yeah.
This is Robbo, who fucking king of micro genres, doesn't get van life YouTube channels.
I mean, I'm saying I'm not aware of it. I'm not saying I don't get it. I get it. Bloody go look at a fairy, mate. Jeez.
Mermaids and mermen. It's tough out there being a merman.
It sure is.
All right. Mermaids. So we start at the start.
Yeah.
With Greek mythology and the sirens of old.
Yeah.
And these sirens, like the original sirens. So, all right, for those who don't know, a mermaid is half a lady, half a fish.
Yep.
Generally, top half of the lady, bottom half fish.
Yeah.
Right, originally these sirens, the first mermaids, were half lady, half bird.
Okay.
Did you know this?
No.
And they're like, I think they must have been like...
Is that not harpies?
Well, no, these were the sirens. These were the original sirens.
Right.
And they're like, okay, so you got like the top half of a lady and then the bottom half's a bird. They're like, yep. And like, so where are the wings? Because wings are on the top half of the bird.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, all right, so it's like from the neck down, it's bird. And they're like, so there's no lady norks.
Right.
They're like, we've got to revisit this whole thing, make it a fish.
Yeah.
So they turned them into fish.
Right.
Okay.
To get a bit of nork in there.
Yeah.
Because no one's going to be like, oh, well, you were seduced by mostly a bird, were you?
Yeah.
This is not a great look for our ancient civilization. Let's just throw some norks in there, shall we?
So this comes from the Odyssey, right? Is that where it started off?
Like Greek myth.
Yeah.
They rock up, they turn up in a bunch of old myths. But there are like similar myths from around the world of half lady, half fish.
It's one of those things that people are like, how can all these cultures that are separated by thousands of miles have the same things? Surely there's something to it.
Well, I mean, they're not separated by that much. People were getting around on boats.
Yeah.
And people on boats...
And while they were on boats, they saw the mermaids.
Yeah, people on boats are largely the people who are going around saying, I saw a sexy fish. It's like, what did you do to this fish? No, it was half a lady. It's okay. Yeah, these are the people.
Well, so just on that, I did note down, I was reading some YouTube comments about mermaids. That's where the real information about mermaids is.
Yeah.
And someone had one about Columbus. Mermaids do exist. Even Christopher Columbus mentions them in his travel diaries. He says they exist, but are nowhere near as pretty as expected.
Oh, no.
So I feel like he was on the hunt. He was like, while I'm, out of town, going to give me some of that mermaid action.
Yeah.
It's like, I'll still do it.
Yeah.
Because you got to try these things out. They just weren't as pretty as he wanted.
No. Yeah, like the people who are travelling around the world spreading these myths are also the people most likely to lose their minds at sea. Because they're at sea.
Yeah.
And it's the olden days. They don't know they're supposed to have an orange every now and then.
And
orange halves at half time.
don't drink the fucking wet stuff.
No.
Unless it's in a barrel.
Yeah. So, mermaids, long history of mermaids in the culture.
Mm-hmm.
Shall we fast forward?
Yeah, I think everyone's across a mermaid.
Yeah.
Yeah. And a merman. Are we just going to use a generic term?
Should we just say mermaids?
Also the...
Merfolk.
Yeah, merpeople.
All right.
I think mermaids fine. I do have some merman gear, but we can just do mermaids.
So it seemed to me like the first big real mermaid thing was the Fiji mermaid.
Yep. That's a Barnum thing, right?
Yeah, classic Barnum hoax, which was just a bit of monkey stitched to a bit of fish. Jeez,
Classic.
They went for it though, but the original Fiji mermaid, someone bought it for like $6,000. That's in 1822.
Yeah, right.
Oh, wow.
That's like when a threepence could buy, pie and chips. $6,000. He did charge it to his ship's expense account, so it's not real money. That's just on tick.
See, I think getting someone that can afford $6,000 worth of fake mermaid, once they realise they've been ripped off, that person can then bring down $6,000 worth of justice.
Right.
And I wouldn't, you know what I mean? Like, you want to rip off a person that can't then bring down a lot of money with his justice, or has a ship's crew that are hardened and angry.
But then he did then rent the mermaid out to Barnum, the famous circusman.
Well, I thought Barnum made it. He rented it back to Barnum.
I think this guy bought it off like some Japanese sailors. Or maybe that's just the story. But anyway, at any rate, Barnum gets it. But he also pulls a prank, like a double prank. He writes all of these letters to like newspapers in the guise of somebody else. Dr. J. Griffin, again, he's like, as a doctor.
Yeah.
The most trustworthy of professions.
Yep, especially in the olden days.
Can't fault this logic.
Yeah. I'm Dr. J. Griffin. I found this thing in South America. And then to like bring it home, he got the guy who was pretending to be Dr. J. Griffin to like go and stay at a hotel that was owned by a guy that was friends with heaps of newspaper guys and like talk to him about it. And
like say it loudly and
he's like, have you heard about this mermaid that I caught?
Yeah, right.
I don't know. It was a whole unnecessarily complicated scam.
Yeah.
To like increase the credibility of something that's clearly just a bit of monkey stitched to a bit of fish. To the point that when other people were like replicating the hoax later on, no one else was like, let's stitch a monkey and a fish together. They're like, let's make this out of paper mache so it doesn't smell as bad. But it'll have the same effect on these dumb rubes. It's the 1830s, guys.
Yeah.
People are easy to fool.
You could still buy cocaine and Valium at the bloody pharmacy at that point. So people are just off their chops looking for some fun little creatures.
Yeah. So that was the Fiji mermaid. But yeah, just another hoax.
I've always wanted to make a Fiji mermaid.
Yeah?
Just as a display piece.
So what I was trying to find was like a bunch of real mermaid gear.
Right.
Yeah. Do you look up mermaid videos on YouTube?
It's rough, right? Because you look up real mermaids and it's like...
Wiki Waki in Florida or whatever.
Well, there's heaps of videos where they're like, mermaids are real. Just ask Sandra D from fucking this water park who loves to dress up as a mermaid. It's like, no, it's not what I'm looking for. I could keep this mermaid's real gear out of it.
The other thing that sullies is Animal Planet did a whole bunch of mermaid documentaries.
Well, they did 3 documentaries.
Yeah.
One of them was called Mermaids, The Body Found.
Yeah.
And the other one was called Mermaids, The New Evidence.
No, there's 3 because I can't remember the third one.
Right. Well, they made a bunch of docos.
Yeah.
So
it tricked a lot of people. They presented them as they were real.
Yeah. So it's all actors.
Yeah.
The fine print at the end of them said this is speculation based on some facts and some evidence.
But they also
that
presented...
mostly made up.
Yeah. They had this footage in it because like they've got these actors speculating on stuff.
Yeah.
But they had this footage that they had shot where it's like in the first doco, it's like these fishermen bring in a big net and there's something struggling in the net and you sort of see an arm come out and it's got a like big mermaidy hand on it and then it like escapes into the water. But the footage is all made to look like it's real and you know when a video camera famously fritzes out when you move it a little bit?
Yeah.
It's like, all right, guys. But
also famously, fishermen just reeling in a net and they just filming it all the time.
Yeah. Then in the second one, they had a bit of similar footage where they'd gone down in a submarine, and at one point something bangs on the submarine, and you see the hand hit the window, and the guy on the submarine was like, and freeze frame.
Yeah.
And then I don't know what was in the third one, but in the Animal Planet documentaries, I think they made like some vague attempt to say, "Oh, this isn't real." There might have been like, "This is based on a true story" at the start or something.
It did trick enough people for there to be like major articles of like, "This is very upsetting," that they tricked everyone
because they ran with the aquatic ape ancestor angle, right?
Yeah.
Now, is that something they made up, or was that something someone had made up that they were like, "Let's chuck that in because it's out there"?
Don't know.
I feel like it might have been something that was out there that they sort of just incorporated in their thing.
Because a lot of the stuff they pointed out about the whole aquatic ape thing, if you think about it, makes sense. Like you can go, oh yeah, I can imagine that. Like how they talk about like how we have webbing between our fingers and stuff, and other primates don't.
Really?
And that's like a thing. Like why do we need that? Why have we got the remnants of like webbing in our fingers if we weren't an aquatic sort of based thing? Why do we like have no body hair, or like why is our body hair something or other? Why have we got the right amount of like body fat to be in the water and keep warm and stuff like that? But there's also a thing like, free divers, like humans can hold their breath longer than almost any other mammal or any other like land-based thing.
Yeah, I think whales probably give us a run for their money.
Well, yeah.
Their money.
Well, even some whales, there was a thing like the person who can hold their breath the longest was super long. It was longer than some whales can or something.
Right.
But there's a thing that happens with freedivers when they dive down to like do their big long dives, where if you hold your breath long enough, you get to a point where your body freaks out. And that's usually the trigger that your body goes, you need to go back up and fucking hoik in a big breath. But if you can push your body past that, like your spleen releases all this oxygenated blood into your body that lets you stay underwater and not breathe for ages longer. But you have to push past that panic point in your survival point in your brain that makes you want to breathe.
You have to get to the point where you think you're going to die.
Yeah, and then just go, I'm not going to die. And then your body just does this weird thing where it just releases all this fucking oxygenated blood that it's been holding there.
Yeah. You're putting a lot of faith in your spleen.
Yeah.
This famously mysterious organ.
Yeah. What does it even do?
Yeah.
Holds oxygenated blood for when we're hunting underwater.
Yeah.
I feel like my spleen is ready to betray me at any moment.
Yeah?
Yeah. Your spleen is going to let you down, Cam.
I don't trust my spleen in the slightest.
What have you done to it?
I don't know. I just don't trust it. Sometimes you feel like a bit of a pain in your side. You're like, well, I want to go freediving.
Yeah. I instantly go to like some sort of horrible cancer.
Yeah. Oh, well. No one lives forever. I was just going to say about the Animal Planet thing, though. So on TV, maybe it's got like it had a shitty disclaimer on TV, right?
Yeah.
On YouTube, there's no disclaimer, and they're only showing the little fucking tiny clips of the mermaid thing, but it's like got the Animal Planet branding on the channel, which makes it look super legit.
Did you get a little bit spooked by it?
No, not at all. But it's like, this thing's got like 1.6 million views or 16 million views or whatever. It's like, how many of those people knew that this was not real?
One of them I saw had 4 million plus views, and it was basically a tail, like a fake tail waggling in the water. And there was 3 different sorts of like, it was clearly the same tail or the same brand of tail or whatever. And it's like, oh, it's a mermaid, we can see its tail. But it was just like thrashing about. So we're supposed to believe the mermaid was under the water.
Right.
Just in one spot, thrashing its tail about for a good 30 seconds. I mean, I don't know heaps about mermaids. This is evidence by what I've brought to the table, but I don't think they just stay in one spot and thrash their tails. They put their head above the water and coax you in.
Yeah.
They sing the siren song.
Well, I think if they're going to attack you, they will just grab you and pull you under. Like if we're going to be serious for a second. Like let's do away with sirens and things. They're just going to grab you with their arms.
Yeah.
And hold you underwater and eat you. So I watched a bit of Jeremy Wade, who we talked about in the Loch Ness Monster one. In his River Monsters show, he did an...
Oh, is that the same bloke?
River
Okay.
Monsters,
Yeah, I watched River Monsters.
Yeah.
I watched that one.
You watched The Water Mama?
Yeah.
I haven't seen this. Or I would have, but I don't remember it.
So this was in like South America. And there was some guy had gone missing. He'd been on his boat. They found his boat and like all of his clothes were in it. And they're like, the water mama got him. So this fucking mermaid has grabbed him. It was a really long bit considering in the end he's like, I think he took his clothes off and got in the water.
Yeah.
And drowned.
But then he's like, something took him what?
Yeah.
But it was like, I don't know, South American rivers.
Yeah.
Eel.
Yeah. Or the tide, the fucking flow of the river, the current.
His wife was old
Yeah.
when she was interviewed. It wasn't clear when he died, but it seemed recent.
Yeah, but...
and she was old.
Yeah. So if he's like an old dude...
Yeah.
Yeah. And he's like, I'll just go for a little skinny dip. I'm just going to go for a Crowley-esque dip.
I also saw some footage of one in the Philippines. And the YouTube commentator said that long white hair and arms were clearly visible. Not at all.
No.
It looked very much like a dolphin or a dugong. I think it might have been a dugong. I think they have them in the Philippines. Which is, dugongs and manatees are what people say people always thought mermaids were.
Yeah.
Sexy dugong.
Sexy, sleek dugong. But do you guys want to hear some YouTube videos?
Yeah, I do.
Some comments. It's Gachanai 2. Well, my mum believed in mermaid. She saw a mermaid when she was a kid at her province. She ain't lying. She's telling the truth.
Whoa.
I'm not going to say his mum's a liar.
Actually, when the Loch Ness cruise was coming back into dock, one of the women on there, and I don't know if she was just saying this for the sake of her kids, but she was fucking dead set. She's just like, well, I saw a mermaid. It come up the side and waved at us.
Of Loch Ness?
On Loch Ness. And I was like, you're supposed to be looking for a monster.
Yeah.
You should be saying to your kid, hey, did you see the monster?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't muddy up the myths here.
You've clearly just seen a fairy having a swim.
Yeah. Its wings would have been all slicked back and looked like a tail.
This was, I think it was one of the tail wagging videos. Out of all the videos I've seen on mermaids, this video seems believable. But I don't know.
Did I?
This could be real because under percent of the ocean is seen underwater. It's not really clear what that
True.
means. The final one. There is more proof for mermaids existing than against. To say it is impossible is ignorant. But I guess it's also good because at least they'll be left alone. I don't hate that comment. I don't agree with the first part of it. But if we did find mermaids, we'd ruin it somehow.
Yeah, leave them alone.
Oh, definitely. Do you guys come across bishop fish?
What?
Have you come across a bishop fish before?
No.
Or the ocean bishops?
No.
So that's another type of sea creature person. I've got a little picture for you here when it loads up. The old sea bishop.
Oh, yeah.
Bishop fish.
Holding court.
Oh, yeah, that's pretty cool.
So they were a type of sea monster reported in the 16th century. According to the legend, the bishop fish was taken to the King of Poland, who wished to keep it.
Mm-hmm.
It was also shown to a group of Catholic bishops, to whom the bishop fish gestured, appealing for them to let it go. Yeah. They were like, you know what? Let it go.
Yeah. They're like, if a bunch of bishop fish caught one of us,
yeah,
we'd want them to let us go.
Yeah. So they're like, all right, let it go. So they did that, at which point the bishop fish made the sign of the cross and disappeared into the ocean. So then also in the ocean near Germany in 1531, there was another bishop fish was caught who refused to eat and died after 3 days. It was described and pictured in the 4th volume of Conrad Gessner's famous Histori Animalium, which is a book about historic animals.
Yeah.
Bishop fish. And sea monk is another type of similar thing. These religious figures that come out of the ocean and are all like scaly and...
Maybe related to Neptune in some way? I feel like that's...
Yeah, I think they served Neptune or the other one, Poseidon or whoever. This is a bloody sea monk for you.
Oh, yeah. Looks a lot like a bishop fish.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. I'm into that.
Yeah. Some people say that the sea monk was found off the eastern coast of the Danish island of Zealand, not New Zealand.
The old one.
Original Zealand.
Yeah.
Yeah, original still the best.
OG Zealand.
What is this? It's not the best.
It was described outwardly resembled a human monk in its habit. 2005 paper concluded the animal was most likely an angel shark.
Oh. Somewhat related, have you guys seen that thing going around the internet of sharks photographed upside down from underneath? They look like, look them up on your phone, sharks photographed upside down. Terrifying. While you do that, I'm going to tell you about the merman interview I listened to.
Are they even more terrifying than normal sharks?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, so you found an interview with a real merman.
Yeah, he was a merman.
This is why I couldn't find it. I was like looking for real mermaids.
He was interviewed by Apex TV.
Like this?
Yeah.
Oh.
When you see it.
Quite terrifying, eh?
Yeah.
On
Apex TV, the official TV channel of the Apex gang.
Yeah, that one. So they interviewed a real merman. Basically, he goes in between land and ocean. Yep. So his legs fuse together and he turns into a tail.
Oh, yeah. Splash style.
Yep. Little Mermaid style.
And he basically, his dad worked for the oil and gas industry. Mm-hmm. So the oil and gas industry are into mermen. They know all about it.
Well, they have those offshore deep sea
rigs. So they use them to weld things underwater.
Right.
Basically enslave them. He doesn't say they're slaves, but that's how it's kind of what it is implied.
Employed?
I think they get paid, but not much.
Is this to save money on scuba gear for normal underwater welders?
Well, of course. In a world where they did exist,
is that
that would be that's who you would hire.
Like this world.
Yeah.
In fairness, scuba gear, not cheap. I mean, it's not cutting hugely into your profit margins.
Not if you're an oil giant.
No, but to employ so many highly trained scubamen to be welding would be way more expensive in your wages budget than hiring a bunch of dudes who can just go down there.
Did you just mansplain why oil companies use mermen?
No, well, because it's just like, surely it can't be that much of a money difference, but it is. It's huge.
Yeah. Because they're basically slaves. We've just said this.
But they're not slaves. They're just not. They're being paid what they're worth.
Hang on.
Are they being paid in fish?
Doesn't say, but he does say.
Look, all right. Edit this so it doesn't sound like I'm on the side of exploiting workers.
It sounds like you massively.
But it's like they don't have any special training. They're just doing what they do best.
Welding.
Yeah. All right. Pay them a welder's wage.
Underwater welding, which gets paid fucking lot of money.
Yeah, but that's because
they don't need to learn the scuba diving part, is what Cam's saying.
Because you've got to be a highly trained scubaman.
Yeah, but the danger of it is the welding.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just saying, pay them a proper welder's wage.
Yeah. All right.
It sounds like they're not getting paid that though. They are being exploited.
Cam also sounds like he thinks they should unionize as well.
yeah.
They should.
Yeah. Absolutely. This guy says if he wasn't a merman, he wouldn't believe it either.
Fair enough.
The interviewer said, what's it like living underwater? What are the benefits? And the response is, I always thought it sucks. Because you don't have social security numbers. Computers, electricity, can't have them underwater.
Right.
You're kind of a bit stupid. And when you're
a bit stupid,
well, like
dum-dums.
He says his dad wasn't very smart and his only choice was to be a welder, basically. That's a bit harsh to me. But like the way he was saying it was...
I'd say to be a welder, you need a bit of intelligence, right? Because you might be dealing with chemical mixes, gas mixture ratios, electricity, charge voltages.
A trap that a lot of people, both normal and mer, can fall into when, especially when you've worked somewhere for a while, is thinking, I've got no transferable skills. It's like, you do have transferable skills.
Definitely.
Yeah, I can expand your horizons a little bit. There's a lot of shit that gets done underwater.
Yeah, for starters, you can stay underwater as much as you want.
Yeah.
Go to bloody Port Lincoln in South Australia. There's a booming aquaculture industry.
Oysters.
Snapper. Tuna. It's tuna farms in Port Lincoln.
What do you think he's going to swim down tuna?
No, well, they're in
maintenance under the farm.
They're in a big net. They grow it in big sea pens.
Also,
you could be down there fixing holes in there, making sure the great whites don't get in.
Also, they don't have cities under the sea, but they have towns.
Okay.
Yeah, well, that's fine. So they can't listen to City Pop.
No, they can.
Does that mean there's no underwater cathedrals?
It doesn't say. They didn't question on
That's what makes
cathedral.
it a city, right? Cathedral?
Having a cathedral.
Yeah.
Maybe in Civilization.
They're not civilized?
No, I mean Civilization the game. I don't think that's the official metric.
Isn't it the official metric as well?
No. What about...
I've never played Civilization. How do I know this?
What about non-Christian countries? They can't have cities?
They can have cathedrals, though, or the equivalent.
Yeah.
Atheist countries?
There aren't any atheist countries.
I'll be the judge of that. I had one more thing to say. Oh, yeah. Mermaids and mermen always is quite racist in their depiction because they're always depicted as white.
Is that not true, though?
Merman on the interview says there are mer people of all races, all colours and creeds are under there, living a life. And the oil and gas industry is trying to kind of cover it up because they're getting all this cheap labour that Cam's so into.
I'm not into it. Unionise. If you don't fight, you lose.
Yeah, so real life merman interviewed.
But I will say that it's obviously not as skilled a job as being a human underwater welder. I don't want to come off as massively specious, though.
Man, you're going to get cancelled even more so.
I haven't been cancelled at all. I'm an unproblematic fave. Unlike you, I can first result on Google.
We'll just go back to amicancelled.com. If you search Cam's name, you'll see what happens.
There's so many Cam Smiths out there to be cancelled.
No? That's on you to disprove, Cam.
Could be the cartoonist.
Probably isn't.
It could be the bass player.
No.
It could be the guy from the Northern Territory that doesn't pay his bloody child support that I hear about.
That's because they're definitely not him, but no, he's definitely cancelled.
Is that an NRL player?
Yep. Yeah. He's
automatic cancellation.
Probably, yeah.
Cancel him. And Cam, who hates mermen.
I don't hate them. I'm just saying they should be paid more than they are, but don't get too ahead of yourselves. You put me in a sticky, bloody situation.
I feel like you're the one that got there.
You need to form the bloody, the UWWA, Underwater Workers Association.
But exclusively for mermen and merwomen.
Yeah.
So the underwater...
General humans who work underwater
Yeah.
can't be involved.
No, because they do. These people massively undercut them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, so now you're saying that the mer people are undercutting the workers.
This is what the bosses do. They divide us.
I mean, this is the path you took us down.
No, it's not me. It's you. All right. Is that all we've got on mermaids?
That's all we got on mermaids, mermen, mer people.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful life under the sea.
Yeah.
This guy said it sucks, but it sounds pretty wonderful.
Yeah. Robbo, where can they find you on the www?
At outofatime.com. Eats and drinks. We're going to get back on that this Friday, I think, Salty.
Sure.
I'm back in the game.
Yep. You get me at Saltmarsh on Twitter and Instagram for some good meatloaf gear today. I don't post on Twitter often, but when I do, it's...
Should we make meatloaf on Eats and Drinks?
Sure.
I've never actually made meatloaf, so it's probably not a good one to do.
Just fucking help a heap of mince in a tin.
Yeah, all right.
And check out Toehider on Patreon. Toehider on Patreon.
And you can get me at Sexenheimer. Gather around me on Facebook and iTunes. And you can find us, of course, on Patreon and wherever you get your podcasts. It's, what's this called? Hypothetical Institute. Good one.
Come and jump on Patreon. It's fun.
Yeah, it's fun. Some good gear in there. Good news.
We do an extra episode every week for those folks.
All right. Hooroo.
Bye.
Bye.
Don't worry about a thing, except if all our world leaders are alien reptilians. I said don't worry about a thing, except maybe the fluoride in our water supply contains mind-altering drugs. Don't worry about a thing, except whether or not Port Arthur was a false flag operation in which to disarm Australia. I said don't worry about a thing. I accept you can definitely hear John Lennon say I buried Paul at the end of Strawberry Fields Forever. Ooh, don't worry about a thing, except not only did Bush do 9/11, but he also keeps the planes out in Area 51, which, let's not forget where all of the aliens are. Don't worry about a thing, except Donald Trump is clearly a woman and you're just blind if you can't see that. Why don't you open your
So there was, with the Animal Planet thing, though, they had a website for it, where when you went to the website, it said this website's been seized by the federal government.
Oh, really?
But they just made that up.